Hello, this is your alternative delivery for Math 1428 for March 18th. 20. There are going to be two parts to this. The first part will be going over the quiz over Chapter 3. Before you do that, make sure you have it done. And what you will do is you will go through and you will self-grade it and you will self-report it to me. For now, I'll tell you how to grade it. The second part we'll be covering Chapter 4.1. As you're going over this, in order to figure out your grades and so on and so forth, you might very well be using these controls on the YouTube video. I would not recommend doing fast forward because that's not really conducive to learning. So the first problem we solved, and the answers you should have gotten were x is equal to 2/3 plus I, the square root of 14 over 3, and 2/3 minus I, the square root of 14 over 3. Here are some detailed steps. In terms of grading this, count this as 4 points for each correct answer. And if you got answers but they were wrong, give yourself 2 points. So every numbered problem will be worth 10. Number 2 is best solved using the square root property that we studied, and your answers are shown down here. These are real numbers. X is equal to the square root of 7 minus 2 over 3, and minus the square root of 7 minus 2 over 3. Again, two answers, each worth 4 points each, and then you give yourself 2 points if you didn't get any of those answers right. Again, the problem is worth 10. Number 3. The answers again were imaginary here. The two solutions should have been 3/2 plus I, the square root of 15 over 2, and 3/2 minus I, the square root of 15 over 2. Here is all the work that is shown for this. And again, 4 points for each one of these answers is correct. 2 points if you have an answer but is not correct. If neither of your answers are correct. Again, every one is worth 10 points, every numbered problem. Number 4 is solving rational equations. We have to reject x being 3 or x being minus 6 because those would produce zeros in the denominator. Otherwise, we multiply by the least common multiple and solve. Your two answers should be x is 9 and x is minus 4. 4 points for each correct answer and minus 2 if you didn't get either one. 4 points for each correct answer, and give yourself 2 points if you got other answers but didn't get the right answer. Here is a problem dealing with radicals. This is one you have to square twice in order to solve this, and we always must check for extraneous roots. On this one, what happens is we have to square twice. So here are a set of steps that you have to go through, but you reach down here where you have to square it twice at the end. And when you square it twice and continue to solve, you get two potential answers. One is x is 2. The other one is x is equal to minus 222 over 529. Some students would say that's an ugly number, but there are no ugly numbers, just like there are no ugly babies. You find that x equal 2 is the only answer. So give yourself 5 points, or give yourself this way. Give yourself 6 points if you got both of these, and if you rejected the two, you can give yourself the full credit on the problem. The problem is worth 10. Here's an absolute value problem. There were two solutions. X is either minus 1/2 or x is equal to 5 over 4. Here was an absolute value in inequality. I did ask you to give the answer in interval notation and graph it. In interval notation, the solution is minus 7 over 3, comma 3. And those should be brackets, and the graph should look like this. So give yourself 3 for that number, 3 for this number, and 3 for the correct graph. And give yourself 1 if you didn't get anything right. Here is a greater than, and you remember this is different. The answer should be minus infinity up to minus 2/3. Those should be parentheses, union 3 to plus infinity. And that's the answer in interval notation. You should have it that way. This will be 3, that'll be 3. And then the graph should look like this, and that will also be 3. Give yourself 1 point if you didn't get any of those right, but did work the problem. Here is number 9. Several things you were supposed to do. There are five parts, so each of these is worth 2 points. So your graph should open downward and look exactly like that. That is 2 points. The vertex is 3, 1, and so you should answer that. That's 2 points. The zeros of the function are 2, 0, and 4, 0. Those are each worth a point, I guess. 2 points for the coordinates of the y-intercept. That is 0, minus 8. That's 2. And the equation of the axis of symmetry is x is equal to 3. It always goes through the vertex. So each of those is worth 2 points, a total of 10. Again, this was another graph. This was set up in the vertex formula, so it was easy to determine that the vertex was going to be minus 3, minus 8, and this opens up. So you have the graph for 2 points, the coordinates of the vertex for 2 points. Identify the coordinates of the zeros, and the zeros are going to be minus 3 plus or minus 2 square root of 2 comma 0. There are 2 zeros, this one, and so you should come up with both of those. The let's see, the y-intercept we talked about was 0, 1. I guess we didn't talk about it, but now we did. And the axis of symmetry is x is equal to minus 3. So 2 points each for those. Here's problem number 11. There are several parts to this. Each one is worth 2 points. It's right or wrong. I to the 39 ends up being negative I. This quotient, when you simplify it, it should end up being minus 17 over 29 plus I times 1 over 29. Part C. Whenever you do all those calculations, you should get 76 plus 132i. Let's see, this is the one where you're part D. When you add those two numbers, you get 1 minus 11i. Finally, part E, what happens is you say, oh, that is 1 over I to the 15th, but then we have to simplify that, and we multiply top and bottom by the complex conjugate of the denominator, which is just plus I, and you get just I as your final answer. 2 points each for a total of 10. Here's problem 12. You have 60 feet available and you're making a rectangular enclosure, but one side of the rectangle is formed by your house, so you don't need that. So we add up these lengths and we say 2x plus y is equal to 60. That means y is equal to 60 minus 2x. Now the area is going to be x times y, so we put what y is in terms of x and we multiply across and we get this. And so now the area is then this. And as we did in the problems in the book, we complete the square inside the parentheses. So half of minus 30 is minus 15. If you square minus 15, you get 225. But that means inside we added 225, but when you multiply by the minus 2, you get minus 450. So to keep things balanced, we have to add 450. So now we have a parabola that has a vertex of 15 and has a vertex of 15 comma 450. So that means the maximum area is 450 and the dimensions for x is 15, and we go up here and we find out that y has to be 30. For this you should give yourself, let's see, there are 3 answers, 1, 2, 3. Give yourself 2 points for each of those that are right, and if you did some serious work but didn't get the right answer, you can give yourself 4 points. Number 13, there were a number of ways you could do this. One thing is you could just use your calculator, subtract this from both sides and try to find the zeros. We also talked about finding the intercept function, and you go left and right and so on and so forth. If you did this, you should have gotten these as answers for x. It would be minus 0.479 or, and the other answer is 6.73, and of course you had to graph those in order to use your calculator. Okay, so that is end of part 1, and I'll talk about how to grade that on part 2. Basically what you're going to do is add up your points, positive points, divide it by 130, and that's what you're going to self-report